All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about one of the most curious health trends out there, hydrogen water. And we're going to unpack this perfect little puzzle it presents. How can a business be built on something that's totally safe, but for the exact same reason is also totally pointless? I know, that sounds like it makes no sense, right? A total contradiction. But it's not. It's really just two sides of the same coin. And it all comes down to some really, really simple science. The very thing that makes it safe is also the thing that makes it useless.
So, let's get into it. How on earth does that work? How can its greatest strength, its safety, also be its biggest flaw?
Okay, so look at this. The reason for both sides, safe and meaningless, is exactly the same. The hydrogen molecule, it's super light and it just doesn't really react with anything in your body. So on one hand, that's great. It can't hurt you. It's safe. But on the other hand, because it doesn't react, it can't really do anything for you either. It can't produce some consistent, measurable health benefit. It basically just passes right through.
This is probably the most important part to get. You know how a lot of health supplements are kind of gray? Like, they might work, but they might also have hidden risks or weird side effects? Well, hydrogen water isn't gray at all. It's completely white. There's no dark side, no potential for harm. Its one defining feature is that it is absolutely, completely harmless.
And this is where things get really interesting. Because it's so harmless, this safety of nothing, it actually creates this weirdly peaceful situation. And that makes the whole business model almost bulletproof. It's like a protective wall.
Just think about it for a second. When we usually go after a questionable health product, why do we do it? Well, there are tragic victim stories, right? Or there are hidden long-term risks. Or maybe people are using it instead of real medicine. But with hydrogen water, you get none of that. You can't overdose on it. There are no horror stories. It doesn't stop anyone from going to the doctor. And because of that, it's a very peaceful problem. There's no fire to put out. Okay, so that leads to the big, obvious question, right? If this stuff is totally safe, but also totally meaningless, then why does this business even exist? Why is it a huge industry? Well, the answer has absolutely nothing to do with science and everything to do with psychology.
And to really get how this works, we have to look at a totally different business that, believe it or not, runs on the exact same playbook. Let's call it the fortune teller's business model. I mean, look at this. The parallel is just wow. Physical harm? None for either. Verifiability? The benefits are totally subjective. You can't prove or disprove them. Basis for regulation? Almost zero, because what harm is being done? One is harmless, the other is just entertainment. Which brings us to what they're actually selling. It's not a physical product. It's psychological satisfaction. So you're not actually buying water with extra hydrogen in it. What you're really buying is the feeling of doing something healthy. It's that little hit of satisfaction you get from not doing nothing. You're taking a step, you're being proactive. That feeling, that's the real product. And this whole thing works because of what you could call an asymmetry of recognition. It's a fancy term for a simple idea. There's a big gap between what the buyer thinks they're getting and what the seller knows they're providing. The buyer is hoping for a real scientific health benefit. The seller? They're just selling a feeling. And that gap, that's where the entire business lives. So you can see why this is such a tricky situation. This whole setup creates a problem that honestly doesn't really have a solution. It operates in this weird gray zone that our laws and even our social norms just aren't built to deal with. It's basically a perfect, unsolvable loop. Let's walk through it. 1. The product is harmless, so 2, it's almost impossible to regulate legally. I mean, what are you going to do, outlaw something that doesn't hurt anyone? But okay, let's say you did. 3, the sellers would just pivot. They'd start selling nitrogen water or activated water or whatever. The name is irrelevant. Why? Because 4, the business model itself just keeps going because the demand for that feeling, that psychological satisfaction, never goes away. So what's the real problem here? It's actually really simple. The biggest problem is that the business can't be honest about what it's selling. Think about it. We're all okay with fortune telling because everyone gets the unspoken agreement. It's for entertainment. It's for that feeling. If hydrogen water just said, hey, this won't do anything for your health, but it might make you feel proactive, poof, the whole controversy would vanish. But it can't say that, can it? To sell for a premium, it has to wear the mask of science. It has to cherry-pick little bits and pieces of real research, use a bunch of sciencey sounding words, and create this illusion that, hey, maybe it could work.
It thrives in that murky space between being a psychological comfort and a legitimate scientific product. And that's really the final question we're left with, isn't it? Are we as a society ever going to get to a point where we see these products for what they are? Just another thing you buy for a feeling, and mentally put it on the same shelf as fortune-telling or a horoscope? Or is this business model, wearing the mask of science, just going to keep on working? I guess the answer really comes down to how well we all learn to understand what we're actually buying when we're looking for an easy answer to a hard question.